My head felt like someone had stuffed it with cotton and left it underwater. The fluorescent lights above me buzzed in a rhythm that made my stomach turn. I tried to move my arm, but it wouldn't respond. Panic crept up my throat. "She's waking up." A woman's voice, professional and distant. I forced my eyes open wider. White ceiling tiles, beeping machines. The sharp smell of antiseptic. A hospital. But why? What happened? "Emily? Emily Chen? Can you hear me?" I turned my head toward the voice. A nurse in blue scrubs stood beside my bed, checking something on a monitor. My mouth felt dry, tongue thick. "What?" I managed to croak out. "What happened?" The nurse's expression softened. "You're at Seattle General. You were brought in 3 hours ago. Do you remember anything?" 3 hours ago? I tried to think back, but my mind was foggy, images swimming just out of reach. I remembered. What did I remember? The lottery ticket. The numbers. Oh God, the numbers. It came flooding back in pieces. The gas station on Pine Street. The quick pick I bought on a whim because the line was too long and I was late for work. Checking my phone 2 days later and seeing those numbers match. All 6 of them. $8 million. $8 million. I'd screamed so loud my neighbor knocked on my door to make sure I wasn't being murdered. I'd called my sister Sarah immediately, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. "Em? It's 11 at night, what's wrong?" Sarah had answered, voice thick with sleep. "I won." I couldn't stop laughing and crying at the same time. "Sarah, I won the lottery. $8 million. We're rich. We're actually rich." The silence on the other end had stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then Sarah had started crying too. "Are you serious? Emily, please tell me you're serious. I'm looking at the ticket right now. I matched all 6 numbers. Sarah, I'm coming home. I'm coming to Portland this weekend. We need to celebrate together." Sarah lived in Portland with her husband Marcus. They'd moved there 5 years ago when Marcus got a job at a car dealership. I'd stayed in Seattle, working as an architect at a firm downtown. We talked every week, but with my job and her, well, life. We hadn't seen each other in person for almost a year. "This weekend?" Sarah had hesitated. "Marcus has this work thing." "I don't care about Marcus's work thing. I'm your sister. I just won $8 million and I want to celebrate with you. Tell Marcus to reschedule or go without you." Another pause. Then, quieter. "Okay. Yes. Come Friday night. I'll make your favorite mom's dumpling recipe." That had been Wednesday. I'd barely slept for 2 days, my mind racing with possibilities. Pay off my student loans. Buy a real house, not this cramped apartment. Travel. Maybe finally quit my job and start my own architecture firm like I'd always dreamed. And Sarah. God, Sarah deserved so much. She'd put Marcus through business school, working 2 jobs while he studied. She'd supported him through 3 failed sales ventures before the dealership hired him. I could help them buy a house. Help Sarah go back to school like she'd always wanted. She'd given up her accounting degree halfway through to support Marcus's dreams. Now it was her turn. Friday had arrived cold and gray, typical November in the Pacific Northwest. I'd secured the lottery ticket in my purse's inner pocket. I'd even written my name on the back in permanent marker after Googling what to do. The internet said to sign it immediately so no one else could claim it if it got lost or stolen. I'd driven down I-5, the 3-hour trip filled with daydreams and rough calculations of how to split the money. After taxes, after the lump sum reduction, I'd still have around $4.5 million, $1 million for Sarah outright. Another $1 million invested for her future. The rest for me, but I'd always help her if she needed it. The GPS had directed me to Sarah and Marcus's rental house in a quiet neighborhood near Foster Powell. It was almost 8 p.m. when I pulled up, the porch light casting a yellow glow. I'd texted Sarah when I was 20 minutes out, but she hadn't responded. Maybe she was cooking and didn't hear her phone. I'd grabbed my overnight bag from the trunk and headed to the front door. Before I could knock, it swung open. Marcus stood in the doorway, and something about his smile made my skin prickle. It was too wide. Too eager. "Emily." Sarah told me the good news. "Congratulations." He pulled me into a hug before I could react, and I felt him pat my purse. Come in. Sarah's just finishing up dinner." The house smelled like ginger and garlic. Sarah's cooking. That familiar scent eased the weird tension I'd felt at Marcus's greeting. Maybe I was just tired from the drive. Where is she? I stepped inside, looking around the small living room. Everything was neat, almost too neat. Like a model home. Kitchen. Here, let me take your bag. You want something to drink? We got wine to celebrate. Sure, wine sounds good. I followed him toward the kitchen, but he gestured to the living room couch. Sit. Relax. You just drove 3 hours. I'll bring everything out. I hesitated, then sat. Something felt off, but I couldn't pinpoint what. The house was quiet except for the sound of Marcus in the kitchen, the clink of glasses. He returned with 2 wine glasses, both filled with red wine. He handed me one, and I noticed his hand was shaking slightly. To your incredible luck, he said, raising his glass. We clinked glasses. I took a sip. The wine tasted. A strange. Bitter. Like it had gone bad. This wine okay? I asked, looking at the glass. Oh, that's just the vintage. It's actually really expensive. Drink up. I took another small sip to be polite. Where's Sarah? I want to see her. She'll be right out. So, $8 million. That's life-changing money. Marcus sat in the armchair across from me, his eyes fixed on my purse. What are you going to do with it all? Well, first I'm splitting it with Sarah. She's my sister. She deserves. That's really generous. Marcus leaned forward. You signed the ticket, right? Made it official? The question felt wrong somehow. Yeah. I signed it. Why? Just making sure it's protected. You wouldn't want someone to steal it. My head was starting to feel fuzzy again. The room seemed to tilt slightly. I set down the wine glass. I don't feel so good. You're probably just tired from the drive. Here, finish your wine. It'll help you relax. I tried to stand up, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. The room spun. Marcus's face blurred in front of me. What did you? I couldn't finish the sentence. My tongue felt thick, my thoughts scattering like marbles on a floor. The last thing I remembered was Marcus catching me as I fell forward, his voice in my ear. Sarah won't mind. She'll understand. We need this more than you do. Then darkness. Now I was here, in a hospital bed, with a nurse asking me what I remembered. My purse, I gasped, trying to sit up. Where's my purse? The nurse gently pushed me back down. Your purse is in the secure locker. Everything's safe. But Emily, you need to stay calm. You were brought in by ambulance. Someone called 911 from a gas station saying you were unconscious in your car. A gas station? What gas station? I was at my sister's house in Portland. The nurse frowned. You're in Seattle. Seattle General Hospital. You were found in the parking lot of a Shell station on Aurora Avenue. Seattle? That didn't make sense. I'd driven to Portland. I'd arrived at Sarah and Marcus's house. Unless, how long have I been unconscious? The ambulance brought you in 3 hours ago. You've been drifting in and out. The doctor ordered a tox screen because your symptoms suggested possible drug ingestion. Drug ingestion. The wine. Marcus had drugged me. I need to call my sister. Right now. Please. The nurse hesitated. Let me get the doctor first. He'll want to check you over now that you're conscious. No, please. I need to. But she was already leaving the room. I tried to sit up again, and this time managed it, though the room swayed dangerously. My hands shook as I looked around for my belongings. The nurse had said my purse was in a secure locker. Where? The door opened again, and a man in a white coat entered. He was maybe 40, with kind brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He stopped when he saw me, and I saw recognition flash across his face. Emily? Emily Chen from UW? I stared at him, trying to place the face. Then it clicked. David? David Martinez? Oh my God, it is you. He came closer, his professional demeanor cracking into a genuine smile. I haven't seen you since graduation. What, 14 years ago? David Martinez. We'd been in the same study group our sophomore year, both working toward our respective degrees, mine in architecture, his in pre-med. We'd lost touch after graduation, the way college friends do. You're a doctor now, I said stupidly. Emergency medicine. And well, you're my patient. What happened, Emily? The concern in his voice, the familiarity of an old friend, broke something in me. I think my brother-in-law drugged me and stole my lottery ticket. David's expression changed immediately, going from friendly to professionally alert. Tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. I told him about winning the lottery, about planning to visit Sarah, about Marcus's strange behavior and the bitter wine. About waking up in Seattle when I should have been in Portland. Do you have any injuries besides the drug symptoms? David asked, checking my chart. I don't think so. I just feel foggy and weak. The talk screen will tell us what you were given. But Emily, if what you're saying is true, this is attempted robbery at minimum. Possibly kidnapping. We need to call the police. I need to call my sister first. Make sure she's okay. Marcus said she was cooking dinner but she never came out. What if he did something to her too? David's jaw tightened. Where's your phone? I don't know. My purse, the nurse said it's in a locker? He moved to a cabinet on the wall, unlocked it with a key from his pocket, and pulled out my purse. It looked intact, but when I opened it with trembling hands, my stomach dropped. My wallet was there. My phone was there. The inner pocket where I'd secured the lottery ticket was unzipped and empty. He took it, I whispered. Marcus took the lottery ticket. Did you sign it? Like they tell you to do? Yes. I signed it and dated it. I googled what to do. And every source said to sign it immediately. David's expression turned grim. Then he can't claim it. The lottery commission will check ID against the signature. But Emily, I'm more worried about your sister right now. Let me call the police, and you call Sarah. My hands shook so badly I could barely unlock my phone. 17 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. 3 voicemails. No calls or texts from Sarah. I dialed her number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. Her voice on the recording sounded happy, carefree. Hey, it's Sarah. Leave me a message and I'll call you back. Sarah, it's me. I'm in the hospital in Seattle. Something happened. Call me back as soon as you get this. I'm worried about you. Please call me. I hung up and immediately tried again. Voicemail again. The police are on their way, David said. Emily, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Something in his tone made me look up. Has your sister ever mentioned having problems with Marcus? Any kind of domestic issues? What? No. I mean, they have normal couple stuff, I guess. Money stress. Marcus has had trouble keeping jobs. But Sarah never said. When was the last time you saw your sister in person? I thought back. Almost a year ago. Last Christmas. I flew to Portland for a few days. And how did she seem? Fine. Normal. Maybe a little thin, but she said she'd been dieting. I felt defensive suddenly. Why are you asking me this? David pulled up a chair and sat down facing me. Emily, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. When the ambulance brought you in, I wasn't your attending physician. Dr. Richardson was. But when I saw your name on the board, I asked to take your case because I remembered you. We were friends. Okay. About 40 minutes after you were brought in, another ambulance arrived. A woman, early 30s, multiple injuries. She'd been found unconscious in her home in Portland by a neighbor who heard screaming. The police were called. The woman had signs of both acute and chronic trauma. My heart started pounding. What are you saying, Emily? The woman's name was Sarah Chen. Your sister is 2 floors up in the ICU. The room tilted. I gripped the bed rails to keep from falling over. No, that's not possible. Sarah was home making dinner. Marcus said she was in the kitchen. Marcus Chen called 911 himself. He told the dispatcher that his wife had fallen down the stairs. But the injuries don't match a fall. And when the neighbor gave her statement, she said she'd heard a man yelling and things breaking for the past hour before she called. I couldn't breathe. I need to see her. I need to see Sarah right now. She's in surgery. She has a fractured skull, broken ribs, internal bleeding. Emily, it looks like she's been beaten regularly for a long time. The old injuries, the healed fractures, this wasn't the first time. That's impossible. Sarah would have told me. We talk every week. She never said anything about Marcus hurting her. David's expression was infinitely sad. They never do. Not when they're afraid. Not when they've been threatened or isolated. The pieces started clicking together in my mind, each one a small horror. Sarah's voice on the phone, hesitant about me visiting. The too neat house, like she was always cleaning to avoid making Marcus angry. Marcus answering the door instead of Sarah. The way he'd immediately asked about the lottery ticket, about whether I'd signed it. He knew. I said slowly. He knew I was coming. Sarah told him about the lottery. And he planned this. He drugged me to take the ticket. But Sarah, why would he hurt Sarah? I don't know. Maybe she tried to protect you. Maybe she threatened to call the police. Or maybe this is just what he does, and the lottery was an opportunity too good to pass up. 2 police officers arrived then, a woman in her 40s and a younger man. They introduced themselves as Detectives Morrison and Park from the Portland PD. They'd driven up when they got word about my case potentially being connected to Sarah's. I told them everything again. The lottery ticket, the drugged wine, waking up in Seattle. Marcus's behavior. The whole nightmare. Miss Chen, we need to locate your brother-in-law as soon as possible, Detective Morrison said. Do you have any idea where he might have gone? No. I don't even know how I got back to Seattle. The last thing I remember is being at their house in Portland. We believe he drove you here and left you in the gas station parking lot, Detective Park said. The attendant noticed your car had been there for over an hour and called it in when he saw you unconscious in the driver's seat. Your car's in our impound lot now, being processed for evidence. What about Sarah? Is she going to be okay? The detectives exchanged glances. The doctors are doing everything they can, Morrison said carefully. But her injuries are severe. The next 24 hours are critical. I started crying then, really crying for the first time since waking up. David handed me tissues and squeezed my shoulder. We need to ask you about the lottery ticket, Park said. You said you signed it. Do you remember the signature exactly? I signed my full name Emily Rose Chen and dated it with the day I bought it. November 13th. And Marcus took the physical ticket from your purse? Yes. It's gone. Morrison nodded. We'll contact the Oregon Lottery Commission immediately. They'll flag the ticket. If Marcus tries to claim it, they'll detain him and call us. But Miss Chen, I have to tell you, even with your signature, this could get complicated. He might argue you gave him the ticket, or that his wife had a right to it. Sarah and I aren't married to each other. That ticket is mine. I bought it, I won it, I signed it. We understand. But this is why we need to find him quickly. The longer he has that ticket, the more opportunity he has to try to claim it or destroy it. He won't destroy it, I said with sudden certainty. $8 million. He went to all this trouble drugging me, beating Sarah, because he wants that money. He'll try to claim it. Then we'll be waiting for him, Morrison said. After the police left, David stayed with me while we waited for my blood work results. The talk screen came back showing Rohypnol roofies in my system. The same drug used in date rapes. Marcus had literally drugged me to rob me. I need to see Sarah, I said again. Please, David. She's my sister. I need to see her. He checked his watch. She should be out of surgery soon. Let me check with the ICU and see if they'll allow it. You're still a patient yourself. I can't officially discharge you until we're sure the drug is out of your system, but I can bring you up in a wheelchair. 20 minutes later, I was being wheeled through the quiet corridors of the ICU. Each room we passed had its own small tragedy, families keeping vigil, machines beeping their mechanical rhythms. Sarah's room was at the end. Through the window, I could see her small form in the bed, almost swallowed by white sheets and medical equipment. Tubes and wires connected her to machines that blinked and hummed. Oh God, I whispered. David wheeled me in slowly. She's sedated. The surgery went well, but she's not conscious yet. I'd seen my sister a year ago, vibrant and laughing at Christmas dinner despite being too thin. The person in this bed looked like a shadow of that woman. Her face was swollen, mottled with bruises in various stages of healing: purple, green, yellow. Her left arm was in a cast. Bandages covered most of her torso. How long? I asked, my voice breaking. How long has he been doing this to her? Based on the X-rays, years. Multiple old fractures that healed incorrectly, scar tissue. Signs of chronic abuse. Why didn't she tell me? I talked to her every week. Every single week, David. How did I not know? Because she hid it. Because he probably threatened her. Because victims of domestic abuse become very good at pretending everything is fine. David's voice was gentle but firm. This is not your fault, Emily. This is Marcus's fault. Only his. I reached out and carefully took Sarah's hand, the one that wasn't in a cast. Her fingers were cold. I'm here, Sarah, I whispered. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And Marcus is never going to hurt you again. I promise you that. Her fingers twitched slightly in mine, though she didn't wake. A nurse came in to check Sarah's vitals. She smiled at me sadly. Are you her sister? She had a necklace on when she came in. We had to remove it for surgery, but I saved it for her. Would you like to hold on to it? She handed me a delicate silver chain with a small locket. I recognized it immediately. Our mother had given it to Sarah on her 16th birthday, a year before Mom died from cancer. I opened the locket with trembling fingers. Inside were 2 tiny photos. One was of me and Sarah as kids, maybe 6 and 8 years old, grinning at the camera with matching gap-toothed smiles. The other photo made my heart stop. It was recent, within the past year. Sarah was smiling at the camera, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. And there, barely visible if you weren't looking for it, was the faint shadow of a bruise along her jaw. But that wasn't what made me gasp. In the background of the photo, partially cropped out, was a figure. And on the wall behind Sarah was a calendar clearly showing August 2024, 3 months ago. David, I said slowly. Look at this photo. He came closer and looked at the locket. What am I seeing? Sarah sent me a photo in August. She said she was doing great, she'd lost weight, everything was wonderful. This is that photo, I'm sure of it. But look, you can see the bruise. And look at her eyes. David studied it carefully. She was trying to tell you without telling you. Or maybe she was reminding herself, I said softly. Reminding herself of who she was before all this. My phone buzzed in my lap, those unknown numbers calling again. This time, I answered. Emily Chen. An official-sounding woman's voice. Yes? This is Carla Washington from the Oregon Lottery Commission. The Portland Police Department contacted us about a situation involving a lottery ticket. Is it safe to talk? Yes. Please tell me you have it. Not exactly. But we have him. Marcus Chen attempted to claim an $8 million winning ticket at our Salem office about 30 minutes ago. The moment his name didn't match the signature on the ticket, our security detained him and called the police. He's in custody now. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Thank God. Miss Chen, I need to verify some information with you. The ticket has your signature, Emily Rose Chen, and is dated November 13th. Can you confirm you purchased this ticket at the Chevron station on Pine Street in Seattle on that date? Yes. I bought it around 6 p.m. I can probably even find the credit card receipt. That won't be necessary. The ticket is clearly yours. However, Mr. Chen is claiming that his wife, your sister Sarah, gave him the ticket on your behalf, and that you authorized him to claim it. Rage boiled up in me. That's a lie. He drugged me and stole it from my purse. My sister is in a hospital ICU right now with critical injuries that he caused. He's a liar and a thief and an abuser. I see. Miss Chen, I need to inform you that you'll need to come to our Salem office in person with valid identification to officially claim the ticket. We can hold it for you for up to 180 days. But I'll be there as soon as my sister is stable. But please don't let that ticket out of your sight. Don't worry. It's in our vault, and Marcus Chen is in police custody. The ticket is safe. After I hung up, I told David the news. He smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him since this nightmare started. That's good. That's really good, Emily. It doesn't matter, I said, looking at Sarah's battered face. None of it matters if I lose her. Then let's make sure you don't. Over the next 3 days, I lived in that hospital. David arranged for me to be officially discharged from my ER bed but got me visitor privileges to stay with Sarah around the clock. I slept in the chair next to her bed, held her hand, talked to her even though she couldn't respond. Detectives Morrison and Park kept me updated. Marcus had been charged with assault, domestic battery, attempted robbery, and administering a controlled substance. Sarah's neighbor had given a statement about the night I arrived. She'd heard Marcus yelling, "Where is it? What did you do with it?" Followed by sounds of a struggle. "We believe Sarah tried to stop him from drugging you," Morrison told me on the second day. "The timeline matches. He drugged you, you passed out, and when he went to take the ticket from your purse, Sarah confronted him. That's when he started beating her. She tried to protect me," I whispered. "She did protect you. If she hadn't fought him, if she hadn't called out or made noise, her neighbor might never have called 911. You both might have died." On the morning of the fourth day, Sarah's eyes opened. I was reading to her from a book, one of our favorites from childhood, Bridge to Terabithia, when I saw her eyelids flutter. I dropped the book and leaned forward. Sarah? Can you hear me? Her eyes focused slowly on my face. Her lips moved but no sound came out. Don't try to talk. You have a breathing tube. Just squeeze my hand if you can hear me. A faint pressure on my fingers. I started crying. You're safe. You're in the hospital and you're safe. Marcus is in jail. He can't hurt you anymore. Her eyes filled with tears. I saw her mouth form words. I'm sorry. No, Sarah, you have nothing to be sorry for. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. She shook her head slightly, wincing at the movement, tried to talk again. Save your strength. We'll talk when you're stronger. Right now, you just need to heal. But she kept trying, her agitation making the monitors beep faster. A nurse came in to check on her. She's trying to tell me something, I said. Is there any way? The nurse produced a small whiteboard and marker. She can try to write but keep it brief. She needs to rest. I held the board steady while Sarah's hand shook, forming shaky letters. Did he get it? The lottery ticket? I asked. No. He tried to claim it but the lottery commission called the police. It's safe. I'll claim it when you're better. Relief flooded her face. Then she wrote again. Sorry, I didn't tell you. About Marcus? Sarah, why didn't you tell me he was hurting you? Her hand shook as she wrote, ashamed, scared. Thought I deserved it. You never deserved this. Never. Sarah. How long? 3 years. 3 years. My little sister had been suffering for 3 years and I'd had no idea. We're going to get you help. Real help. Therapy, lawyers, whatever you need. And we're going to make sure Marcus never touches you again. She wrote, the money. Forget the money. I only care that you're alive. No. She underlined it twice. USIT. Help others like me. And there it was. My sister, barely out of surgery, barely able to hold a marker, already thinking about helping others. Okay, I promised. We'll help others. Together. But first, you have to get better. Sarah stayed in the hospital for 2 more weeks. During that time, Detectives Morrison and Park built an airtight case against Marcus. They found Sarah's journal, hidden in a box of tampons under the bathroom sink, years of entries documenting the abuse. They found threatening text messages Marcus had deleted but that were recovered from Sarah's phone. They found financial records showing he'd been stealing from Sarah's paychecks for years. The prosecutor told us Marcus was looking at 15 to 20 years in prison. But I need you to testify, she told Sarah during one of her visits. I know it's hard, but your testimony will be crucial. Sarah, still weak but getting stronger every day, nodded. I'll testify. I'm done being afraid of him. When Sarah was finally discharged, she came to stay with me in Seattle. I'd taken a leave of absence from my architecture firm, using some of my savings to cover expenses. The lottery ticket could wait. We settled into a routine. Physical therapy for Sarah's injuries. Therapy sessions with a counselor who specialized in domestic abuse survivors. Quiet evenings where we'd cook together, Sarah teaching me mom's recipes. Laughing when I inevitably screwed something up. You always were terrible in the kitchen. She teased one night as I burned rice for the 3rd time. That's why I became an architect. Buildings don't burn if you mess up the measurements. She smiled, and it was real. The first real smile I'd seen from her in years maybe. I need to tell you something. Okay. That night. When Marcus drugged you. I heard him on the phone with someone, planning it. He thought I was in the shower but the water was just running. I heard him say he was going to take your ticket and disappear. Leave both of us. I stopped stirring the vegetables I was attempting to stir-fry. Sarah, I confronted him. I told him I'd call the police if he touched you. That's when She touched her ribs carefully. That's when it got really bad. But even when he was hitting me, all I could think was that I had to keep him busy. I had to give the neighbors time to hear, time to call for help. Because if I didn't, you'd wake up alone somewhere and no one would know what happened to either of us. I put down the spatula and hugged her carefully, mindful of her still healing injuries. You saved my life. You saved mine first. The lottery money, if you hadn't won, if you hadn't insisted on coming to visit, I would have stayed. I'd convinced myself I could survive it. That it was normal. That I deserved it for not being a better wife. Her voice broke. But seeing you, knowing you were in danger because of me, it woke something up. Made me realize I didn't want to die. I didn't want this to be my life. It's not going to be. Never again. We held each other in my tiny kitchen, the vegetables burning in the pan, both of us crying and laughing at the same time. 2 months later, Sarah and I drove to Salem, Oregon to officially claim the lottery ticket. The lottery commission had held it safely, and Marcus's legal team had tried every argument to claim Sarah was entitled to it as his wife. But Sarah had filed for divorce the day she was discharged from the hospital, and our lawyer had no trouble proving the ticket was mine, bought before I'd even arrived in Portland. The check was massive after taxes, $4.2 million. Half is yours, I told Sarah. No. We're partners in this, but it's your ticket. Besides, I have other plans. Over coffee at a diner near the lottery office, Sarah pulled out a folder. I've been researching. There are so few resources for domestic abuse survivors, especially ones trying to rebuild their lives. I want to start a foundation. Housing, job training, legal aid, therapy. Everything I wish I'd had access to when I was trapped. That's amazing, Sarah. I want to call it the Covered Bonds Foundation. Because that's what Marcus did. He covered up what he was doing. Made it look like we had a normal marriage while he was destroying me. But you uncovered the truth. We did it together. I thought about my architecture firm's name, the Covered Bonds. The name I'd chosen years ago because I loved the metaphor of bonds that hold structures together, invisible but essential. I think that's perfect. And I want to contribute. Half of my winnings goes to the foundation. That's over $2 million. I know exactly what it is. And it's what I want to do. We'll hire people who understand what you went through. We'll create safe houses and job programs. We'll help people escape and rebuild. Sarah started crying again, but this time they were good tears. We're going to change lives, she said. We already have. We saved each other. The trial happened 6 months later. I sat in the courtroom and watched Sarah take the stand. She was thin but healthy now, her hair grown back from where it had been shaved for surgery. She wore a simple blue dress and no makeup to cover the faint scars that remained. She testified for 3 hours. She told the jury everything, every beating, every threat, every time he'd isolated her from friends and family. She showed them the journal. She answered every invasive question Marcus's lawyer asked with calm dignity. When she described the night he'd beaten her for trying to protect me, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Marcus was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 22 years in prison. As they led him out of the courtroom, he looked at Sarah. I saw him mouth, "You'll regret this." Sarah looked him dead in the eye and said clearly, "The only thing I regret is not leaving you sooner." The Covered Bonds Foundation opened its first safe house a year after the lottery win. We bought a large house in Seattle and converted it into apartments for survivors and their children. We hired staff who were survivors themselves. We partnered with legal aid organizations and job training programs. Sarah ran the foundation full-time. I'd quit my architecture job and now volunteered with the organization, designing safe, warm spaces for people to heal in. On the anniversary of that terrible night, the night I'd driven to Portland, the night Marcus had drugged me, the night Sarah had saved my life by fighting back, we held a ceremony at the foundation. 20 women and their children attended. These were the people we'd helped over the past year, women who'd escaped, who'd found safety, who'd started to rebuild their lives. Sarah spoke to them about her own experience. About shame and fear and the courage it takes to leave. About how healing isn't linear, and some days you'll want to go back because the familiar pain feels safer than unknown freedom. But you're worth more than survival, she told them. You're worth thriving. You're worth joy and peace and dreams that don't include walking on eggshells. You're worth everything. After the ceremony, one of the women, a young mother named Lisa who'd arrived at our shelter with 2 kids and nothing else, came up to us. I just wanted to say thank you. Not just for the house and the job training, but for showing me it's possible. That life can get better. It can, Sarah said. It will. I promise you that. As Lisa walked away, I put my arm around my sister. Mom would be so proud of you, I said. Of us, Sarah corrected. We did this together. I thought about that lottery ticket. The one I'd bought on a whim because the line was too long and I was late for work. I'd thought winning $8 million would change my life. And it had, but not in any way I could have imagined. The money gave us resources, but it was the journey, the pain, the healing, the fighting back that gave us purpose. Sometimes the worst roads lead to the best destinations, Sarah said quietly, echoing something her therapist had told her. Yeah, I agreed. Sometimes they do. We stood together, two sisters who'd survived betrayal and trauma and somehow found a way to turn pain into purpose. The lottery ticket had been the catalyst, but Sarah's courage had been the real jackpot. And as I looked around at the safe house, at children laughing, at women who were learning to smile again, at futures being rebuilt one day at a time, I knew that no amount of money could match the richness of this moment. We'd won something far more valuable than $8 million. We'd won our lives back, and we were using them to help others do the same.